You are not here by accident. Among billions of possibilities, you were born right now, in an era of collapse and awakening, of chaos and opportunity. There's a reason for this, and the truth behind that choice might completely transform the way you see your life. In this video, you'll discover why your soul chose to incarnate at this precise moment in history. We're going to talk about purpose, planetary transition, spiritual evolution, and how all of this connects to the challenges you're facing today. If you feel like something greater is calling you, but you're not exactly sure what it is, then this video is for you. Have you ever felt like you're awake in a world that's still asleep? Like you carry a different kind of sensitivity, an internal weight no one else understands, or a deep urge to change something, even if you don't know what it is? Then stay until the end. The answer might be here. This is not an ordinary incarnation. This is not just another life, nor the result of some random biological accident thrown into the chaos of the universe. The era we are living in is a rare point in time, something that happens only once every 10,000 years within the cycles of planetary projects. That's why we're seeing this mass reincarnation in the 21st century. Souls from every corner of the cosmos have moved to be here, now. And it wasn't out of curiosity, it was out of purpose. When someone feels like they don't belong in this world, it's often because, in truth, they don't belong only to this planet. This is connected to a phenomenon many call the galactic migration of souls, where older, more experienced consciousnesses incarnate at strategic moments to assist and experience the spiritual awakening of 2025. Each soul carries a different role. Some come to teach, others to heal, others to break down old systems. So if you've always felt like there's something more in you that you could never quite explain, this might be your answer. This moment is like a portal that stays open for only a short time. It's as if the universe has called in its cosmic volunteers to take part in the planetary transition, a spiritual shift that demands courage, awareness, and action. And that's why so many ancient souls, including you, chose to reincarnate now. Not by accident, but because they knew the time for change had come. And this change is only just beginning. Planet Earth is not an eternal stage. It is a project with a beginning, middle, and end. Like a school cycle, it prepares souls in stages. And now, we are approaching the turning point. Humanity's mutation point. This moment is marked by instability, global events, and systemic shocks. It's no coincidence that we're experiencing pandemics, global conflicts, environmental collapse, and even subtle appearances related to the theory of extraterrestrial intervention. All of this is symptomatic of a cycle coming to an end. The end of Earth's cycle doesn't mean destruction in the apocalyptic sense of movies. It means the closure of one phase to give way to another, subtler, more conscious, for those who are prepared. Each current crisis serves as a catalyst. For example, when we observe environmental collapse and natural disasters, we can see the planet reacting like a sick body, crying out for healing. And like any body, it must eliminate what is toxic to it. The souls awakening at this time are like antibodies of the planet's consciousness. This is the moment when spiritual choices become urgent. Studying the future of consciousness on Earth is more important now than debating politics or economics. Books like The Turning Point by Fritjof Capra or Earth, Pleiadian Keys to the Living Library by Barbara Marciniak help expand this vision. Because this isn't just about surviving external changes, it's about going through a spiritual preparation for ascension. And what comes next will be anything but conventional. There is a widespread illusion, fueled by movies and popular theories. The idea that extraterrestrials will come to Earth in flying machines with miraculous devices to save us. The reality is quite different. The most consistent theory of extraterrestrial intervention suggests that these beings do not interfere using technology. They work on levels of consciousness. They're not here to solve our problems, but to help us understand why we created them. And that difference changes everything. These star-born intelligences know that giving tools to a disconnected humanity is like handing a weapon to a child. That's why their mission revolves around consciousness transfer, a subtle process that unfolds through dreams, insights, channelings, and even spiritual encounters in altered states of perception. Many who now speak of spiritual awakening, meditation, and self-knowledge are, without realizing it, under the influence of this interdimensional guidance. This is what lies behind movements such as the spiritual awakening of 2025. The goal was never to build a new technological civilization, but rather to initiate the end of the material civilization as we know it. A practical example of this is the growing interest in conscious eating, sustainable communities, integrative therapies, and alternative ways of living. It's a quiet yet powerful movement. Those who feel the call begin to abandon the consumerist pattern and accelerate their preparation for the planetary spiritual transition. And that's where the next phase begins, the preparation for departure. The much-talked-about Age of Light is not an imaginary utopia, but the final stage of a much older and deeper process. We're talking about the last phase of the Earth Project, where humanity is gradually being called to reconnect with its spiritual essence. This involves the transmigration of souls. In other words, the preparation for many consciousnesses to leave this plane and move on to new experiences in other worlds. Worlds that match their vibration, understanding, and spiritual maturity. And yes, this has already begun. During this phase, material values begin to lose their power. Everything that once seemed important, status, accumulation, competition, starts to feel empty. This doesn't happen overnight, but it intensifies as the material civilization winds down. Just look around. Many people are questioning their careers, relationships, and lifestyles. It's as if something deep inside is saying, "This no longer makes sense." That's a sign the spirit is preparing for the crossing. A powerful reflection to practice. If I left this world tomorrow, what would I take with me as true learning? The spiritual preparation for ascension is exactly this process of cleansing and realization. It's not about isolating yourself in the mountains or becoming a monk, unless that calls to you. It's about aligning yourself with values that resonate with your soul. Love, truth, surrender, humility. Practices like meditation, conscious fasting, and readings such as Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak are practical ways to tune your frequency. After all, what comes next is a cosmic selection, and not everyone is ready for this next departure. There is a silent belief that many people carry, that humanity, as we know it, will last forever. But that's a myth. Every civilization has an expiration date, a natural cycle of birth, peak, and decline. The Egyptians, the Mayans, the Romans, all came to an end. And now we are approaching the end of the material civilization we've known. Not as a punishment, but as part of the spiritual dynamics of worlds. Because yes, the planet itself also evolves. The difference now is that the process is accelerating from multiple directions. Climate collapse, economic imbalance, social fractures, and more subtly, a profound planetary spiritual transition. Humanity lives under the illusion of permanence, clinging to possessions, status, and power as if nothing will ever change. But the call is in the air, whispering in the ears of the aware. Why are we on Earth now? If everything were fine, that question wouldn't be so common among so many seekers. Would it? True security is not in building castles of concrete, but in developing inner structures of consciousness. Those who understand that everything here is temporary, jobs, relationships, possessions, are already one step ahead. A powerful exercise is to list everything you fiercely defend, and then ask yourself, Is this eternal or circumstantial? That kind of clarity is part of the spiritual preparation for ascension, because when everything collapses, what remains is what your soul carries. What many call Judgment Day is not some cinematic event of fire and brimstone. From a spiritual perspective, it is a deep evaluation of the soul's journey, its choices, lessons, intentions, and evolution. This process takes place on subtle levels, after death, and is a key part of the transmigration of souls. It is in this moment that the direction of the consciousness is determined, whether it will move on to subtler worlds or return to similar experiences until it matures. This evaluation is far more just than many imagine. There's no God with a little notebook recording sins. It is the soul itself that reviews its actions with full clarity, feeling the impact of everything it did, didn't do, or avoided out of fear. In this inner tribunal, there is no room for lies. That's why the spiritual preparation for ascension must happen now, during life, so that the post-death process is lighter, more conscious, and free of regret. Practices like meditation, active forgiveness, and genuine charity are exercises that support this journey. And of course, not everyone is ready to move forward. Many will return to Earth or to similar worlds. Others will be part of the galactic migration of souls, moving on to subtler experiences. It all depends on the level of consciousness achieved. That is the true meaning of the future of consciousness on Earth. A moment of vibrational separation, where denser frequencies will no longer be able to coexist with the higher ones. And if that sounds monumental, it's because what comes next demands even greater clarity. The way we live today is unsustainable. The planet is already crying out for help, and it doesn't cry with words, but with wildfires, extreme droughts, floods, and species vanishing in silence. If every country consumed like the richest nations, we would need 3 Earths to sustain that lifestyle. The math doesn't add up. And this accelerated imbalance is a direct reflection of humanity's spiritual disconnection, a humanity that insists on seeing matter as the goal, not the means. This deep disconnection is part of what we call the end of material civilization. It's the result of millennia of a mindset built on scarcity, competition, and accumulation. But now, the cycle is closing, and with it comes the urgency for a new model, simpler, more conscious, more connected to the Earth. Those attuned to the spiritual awakening of 25 can already feel this shift. They are people who are choosing meaning over excess, contribution over consumption, the essential over luxury, not out of duty, but because the old way simply no longer makes sense. If you want to begin aligning with this new era, start by re-examining your consumption choices. Where does what you buy come from? Who's behind it? Does it pollute or regenerate? Books like Earth Awakens by Sal Rakele help expand this awareness. And this reflection is not just environmental, it's spiritual. Because unconscious consumption doesn't just destroy forests, it puts souls to sleep. And what's coming next will demand much more presence. Many people dream of colonizing Mars or living in space stations floating through the cosmos. But the truth is, there is an invisible cosmic law that prevents spiritually immature civilizations from expanding beyond their own worlds. It's like setting boundaries for a child who hasn't yet learned to take care of their own room. According to these universal laws, interplanetary colonization is only permitted for civilizations that have reached a certain level of ethical responsibility, harmony, and spiritual awareness. Today, Earth is still far from that. We live with war, exploitation, intolerance, selfishness, characteristics of a planet in imbalance. That is the reason behind the apparent invisibility of more advanced beings. Yes, they do exist, but they do not directly engage with civilizations trapped in spiritual darkness. This law prevents chaos from spreading across the universe. In other words, until humanity deeply understands why we are on Earth right now, it will not be granted permission to leave. It's a kind of cosmic quarantine, grounded in laws that protect the balance of systems. And this is a point few truly grasp. The real interstellar journey begins within one's own consciousness. Only when we learn to travel through inner states, deep meditation, astral projection, out-of-body experiences, do we become candidates for legitimate cosmic experiences. And this is directly linked to the spiritual preparation for ascension. While many look to the skies in search of spacecraft, the wise quietly work on their frequency. Because the key to boarding isn't at NASA, it's in the soul. There is a common misunderstanding among spiritual seekers: the idea that complete ascension can be achieved while still alive. But the truth is, spiritual ascension doesn't happen here in the physical body, at least not in its final form. Life in the material world is a school, not the stage for graduation. The most we can do in this plane is prepare, align, and purify. The real leap, the diploma, comes after death, when consciousness is freed from the restraints of ego and biology. Very few achieve a state of full enlightenment while incarnated. They are extremely rare exceptions, like Jesus, Buddha, or Ramana Maharshi, souls who had undergone centuries of preparation on other planes. For the rest of us, the focus should be on spiritual preparation for ascension, which includes emotional vigilance, purification of habits, service to others, and a gradual detachment from material things. Practical example: reducing judgment, practicing silence, deeply forgiving, and studying works like Autobiography of a Yogi and Death. The Great Adventure. This life is like a stage in the cosmic entrance exam. No one passes just by memorizing the rules. You have to live them. What you build today, vibrationally, will determine where your consciousness goes next. The soul that understands this stops chasing titles, possessions, or validation, and begins cultivating peace, clarity, and compassion. Because in the end, what determines your next destination is not what you've achieved, but who you've become. You were not born by chance. What if I told you there's a cosmic, precise, and extremely rare reason your soul chose to be alive right now, in 25? Most people live on autopilot, unaware that they are part of the closing chapter of a major planetary cycle. But the truth is, you are part of a generation of souls that agreed to incarnate during one of the most decisive moments in Earth's history. And no one ever told you that. While the world chases money, likes, and endless distractions, there is a quiet group feeling something different. A calling, a discomfort with ordinary life, a sense of urgency, as if something is missing. If this feels familiar, then you need to watch this video until the end. Because here we're going to talk about the planetary transition, the galactic migration of souls, extraterrestrial intervention, mass reincarnation in the 21st century, and most importantly, your role in all of this. This video is not just another piece of spiritual curiosity. It is a tool for awakening. You'll understand why we're on Earth now, the true meaning of the Age of Light, and what your soul has been trying to remind you. But be prepared. This knowledge will shake your beliefs, question your reality, and maybe, just maybe, explain what you've always felt, but never had the words to say. Now that you know why you chose to be born at this exact moment, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Will you keep living on autopilot, ignoring the signs? Or will you truly begin your spiritual preparation for ascension? You are here for a reason, and pretending you didn't hear the call won't silence your soul. What actions can you take today to align your life with that higher purpose? Will you keep feeding a reality that's already collapsing? Or will you help build something new, more conscious, more truthful? Because the end of material civilization has already begun, and only those vibrating on a different frequency will remain. If this message spoke to you, if it awakened something inside you, subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone you know is ready to hear this truth. Here we continue exploring what no one else is telling you, but what your soul has been begging you to remember.